Welcome to another show. Today, we're going to look at the top 10 vampire movies from 2000 to 2010. The early 2000s saw a resurgence of vampire films ranging from horror and action to romance and comedy. Here is a list of the top 10 vampire movies released between 2000 and 2010, celebrated for their impact, popularity, and contribution to the genre.
How dare you destroy my photographer! You idiot!
Did I kill some of your people, Murnau?
At number 10, it's Shadow of the Vampire.
Why not the script girl?
The script girl. I'll eat her later.
The metafictional film imagines Nosferatu director F.W. Murnau hiring a real vampire to star in his silent film, blending horror and dark comedy. Based in part upon a legend that Max Schreck was in reality a vampire, which is why he played the role of Orlok Dracula so well. Some variations of the legend suggest that Nosferatu, a symphony of horror, was the only film Schreck made, though in reality he was already a stage and screen veteran by the time Nosferatu was shot, and would appear in many non-vampiric roles before his death in 1936. Murnau's line, "If it isn't in the frame, it doesn't exist," is a paraphrase of a piece of advice the real Murnau gave to the young Alfred Hitchcock when the latter visited the UFA studios in Berlin before becoming famous. Hitchcock never forgot this advice and was still quoting it when making his final movie in the mid-1970s. The use of the quotation in the context of Shadow of the Vampire is a distortion of what the real Murnau meant. Willem Dafoe's portrayal of Max Schreck was nominated for an Academy Award. This is the only time anyone has been nominated for their portrayal of a vampire. This was also the first movie that Nicolas Cage produced. Willem Dafoe was hired as the Green Goblin in Spider-Man after the production watched his performance in this film. John Malkovich was 46 when he played F.W. Murnau, director of Nosferatu. Murnau was in actuality only 33 at that time.
And Helsing, you murderer!
Why can't you tell the world I work for you?
Because we do not exist.
The number 9 film on our list is Van Helsing from 2004. This adrenaline-pumping adventure film follows vampire hunter Van Helsing as he travels to Transylvania to take on Count Dracula, who's determined to unleash an army of undead creatures upon the world. Alongside Anna Valorosa, the last member of a powerful vampire-fighting family, Van Helsing faces werewolves, Frankenstein's monster, and other terrifying foes in his quest to save humanity. Director Stephen Sommers deliberately chose to avoid the style of transforming from other werewolf films, where the character would usually grow hair as part of the change. Instead, the decision was made to have the character rip his skin off to reveal the werewolf form underneath, going with the idea that the beast comes from within. Stephen Sommers wanted Kate Beckinsale for the role of Anna, but feared it was too similar in tone to the vampire werewolf film Underworld from 2003, which she was shooting at the time, and he didn't ask her. Eventually, her agent got Sommers to send the script, and Beckinsale immediately signed on. The gray werewolf featured earlier in the film, the one that bites Velkin, was intentionally designed to resemble Rick Baker's werewolf creation from the film An American Werewolf in London. Mr. Hyde appears to be modeled after the late French professional wrestlers Andrei Rana-Rosimov, who was famously known as Andre the Giant. It is also worth noting that while the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde takes place in London, Van Helsing encounters the character in Paris, though Van Helsing does mention running into Hyde in London.
I have to ask you a couple of questions. What can you tell me about vampires?
They exist.
The number 8 film on our list is Blade Trinity from 2004.
You better wake up. The world you live in is just a sugar-coated topping.
This is the third Blade film, which brings new allies and adversaries, cementing the series' status in modern action horror films. Blade, now a wanted man by the FBI, must join forces with the Night Stalkers to face his most challenging enemy yet, Dracula. Jessica Biel inadvertently destroyed a camera costing more than $300,000 when she fired an arrow directly into the camera lens. She was directed to aim for the camera, which had a plexiglass shield in front of it to protect it, except for a small opening in front of the lens. Beale had perfected her archery skills while training for this role to such a degree that when she fired the arrow at a distance of approximately 50 feet at the camera, as she was directed, it went directly through the lens and into the camera itself, destroying it. The footage of the incident is included in the DVD extras. According to Patton Oswalt, the production was so troubled due to studio interference and that Wesley Snipes appeared to have some kind of a mental breakdown that he refused to speak to David S. Goyer and often would not come out of his trailer. He would only respond to the name Blade, and if he communicated with anyone, it would be via post-it notes. Ryan Reynolds corroborated this while promoting the film, saying that Snipes would ignore the entire cast. But he once acknowledged Reynolds by saying, "Keep your mouth shut. You'll live longer."
I don't like you.
You never did.
Wesley Snipes and Chris Christopherson, who at the time had become good friends while working on the 2 previous Blade installments, were reportedly unhappy with this movie and with David S. Goyer's script decisions. They felt that too many new characters were added to the universe and that Blade did not need any sidekicks besides Whistler. Stephen Norrington had at one point considered returning to direct this film, but he changed his mind after reading the script, which he didn't like. In 2016, Underworld actress Kate Beckinsale stated that a crossover sequel to Blade Trinity with the Underworld film series had been in development, but was cancelled after the film rights reverted to Marvel Studios in 2012. An early idea of David S. Goyer was to include not only Hannibal King, but a female character called Rachel Van Helsing from the Tomb of Dracula comics. But then he heard about the movie Van Helsing and decided against it. He ended up creating the character of Abigail Whistler, Whistler's daughter, in her place.
There's only been one Blade. There's only ever going to be one Blade.
흡혈귀란 거 생각보다 귀엽네요.
The number 7 film on our list is Thirst from 2009.
구부릴 수 있어요?
이거 구부려서 뭐예요?
It was directed by Park Chan-wook. This South Korean film is an erotic, stylish, and unconventional take on vampirism and morality. Sang-hyun, a priest working for a hospital, selflessly volunteers for a secret vaccine development project intended to eradicate a deadly virus. However, the virus eventually takes over the priest. The movie borrows many elements from Emile Zola's novel, Therese Raquin. Taeju is named after Teresa, and Lady Ra is named after Madame Raquin. There is a seemingly random brief shot at around an hour and 20 minutes of a blood-red ceiling with a single light bulb. It's an intentional homage to one of William J. Eggleston's most famous photographs entitled The Red Ceiling. Thirst is the first South Korean film to be jointly produced by Hollywood. Universal Pictures International Studios invested in the film during its production stage and secured North American distribution rights.
Over 1,000 years ago, the soldiers of light and the warriors of darkness fought for possession of the chalk of fate.
The number 6 film on our list is Daywatch from 2006.
When neither side could attain it, a truce was struck.
The Russian fantasy sequel to Nightwatch. This blends vampire lore with supernatural action, expanding its unique universe. When Anton, a warrior of light, is falsely accused of murdering some vampires, he embarks on a journey to find the real killer and search for an ancient object that has the power to alter destiny. Anton is seen jumping through a poster of Ninth Company from 2005, the previous record holder at Russia's theatrical box office. Neveny Dozer surpassed it, becoming the first film in post-communist Russia to gross over $30 million.
You're impossibly fast and strong. You gotta give me some answers.
I'd rather hear your theories.
The number 5 film on our list is the first Twilight movie from 2008.
I have considered radioactive spiders and kryptonite.
It's all superhero stuff, right? What if I'm not the hero?
While polarizing, Twilight became a pop cultural phenomenon, introducing a new romantic take on vampires and spawning a massive franchise. Criticisms include subpar acting, especially from Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, and the film's failure to capture the book's essence. The special effects are often deemed inadequate, and the pacing is criticized for being rushed. Some find the characters underdeveloped and the dialogue awkward. Despite these flaws, it has a dedicated fan base, valuing its nostalgic and unique blend of romance and supernatural elements. Taylor Lautner said he was originally only supposed to play Jacob in the first movie and was going to be replaced by an older, more muscular actor in the sequels. He explained, "My character in the first book is supposed to be like a 16-year-old little scrawny boy, and in the middle of New Moon he transforms into this 25-year-old looking, built, muscular man. I had to fight for my role back. Lautner trained for 9 months to gain 20 to 25 pounds of muscle to ensure he would not be recast."
The war itself had become more perilous. The weapons had evolved. But our orders remained the same.
The number 4 film on our list is Underworld from 2003. With its sleek, gothic style and epic battles between vampires and werewolves, Underworld launched a successful franchise and became a cult classic. Against the backdrop of an unseen centuries-old war between the sophisticated vampire clan and the brutish clan of lycanthropes, the Lycans, the lethally alluring vampire assassin and member of the elite Death Dealers squad, Selene has devoted her existence to eradicating Earth's scattered pockets of remaining werewolves. Len Wiseman opted to shoot many of the action and effects sequences live without computer imagery. In one scene, for instance, a werewolf seems to be running more than 50 miles per hour behind a speeding car. This was shot using an elaborate rig towed behind a vehicle, with actor Michael Sheen doing the close-ups of the running and the jump onto the car. The long shot of Lucian running was done by stuntman Todd Schneider. According to writer-actor Kevin Grevioux, the model for the Selene character was in the psychic vampire of the Hellfire Club in the X-Men comics, the Black Queen Selene. The creators of this series approached Marvel Studios about doing a crossover with the Blade franchise, with Wesley Snipes presumably reprising his role. Marvel declined, saying they wanted to leave the door open to do something with Blade on their own terms.
Me and the gang were wondering if you could blush.
What was that?
Can you blush?
The number 3 film on our list is Blade 2 from 2002. The second installment of the Blade series amps up the action and introduces new vampire threats, with Wesley Snipes returning as the iconic vampire hunter. A rare mutation has occurred within the vampire community, the Reaper. A vampire so consumed with an insatiable bloodlust that they prey on vampires as well as humans, transforming victims who are unlikely enough to survive into Reapers themselves. The scene where Reinhardt, who based his character on a neo-Nazi, asks if Blade can blush is based on a real incident that Wesley Snipes experienced. Snipes requested this be inserted into the movie to add to the antagonism between the characters. When Overlord Damaskinos mentions the virus that causes vampirism, he states it is a type of parvovirus, though the closed captioning says horrible virus because of the obscurity of the term. Parvovirus is an actual family of viruses, and the B13 strain afflicts humans. It meets all the requirements for creating vampires in a fictional environment, since the B13 strain actually does cause sensitivity to daylight in some. It infects the blood and bone marrow, and can be transmitted by saliva. Since most people outside of medicine are unfamiliar with the term, however, they may have also heard horrible virus. The idea of reapers having stingers coming out of their mouth were inspired by Polish folk tales, where the vampires had a stinging or finger coming out of their mouth that they used to ingest blood rather than use teeth like the Vulcan genus. That is the greatest influence on the modern vampire mythology.
Get in the truck.
What?
Get in the truck.
The number 2 film on our list is 30 Days of Night from 2007. This is set in an Alaskan town plunged into a month-long darkness. This movie delivers relentless, terrifying vampires and intense action. These vampires are more like wild savages than the charming and seductive Dracula or the stylish and clever Lestat. Instead, we get rampant bloodshed across the Alaskan winter landscape, with our protagonists trapped in a hopeless situation, turning it into a hopeful one as they just barely survive, being hunted by the seemingly invincible vampire menace until the tables are gradually turned. The vampires speak a completely original language. It was created for this film with the help of a linguistics professor at a New Zealand university. In reality, Barrow, which is now a name I'm not going to try to pronounce, and some of you will call me a dork in the comments, I know, but the spelling is Utqiagvik. That city doesn't see the sun for about 67 days during the winter. Steve Niles originally conceived the story as a film. After years of rejection by studios, it was reworked into a comic book. Eventually, a studio that originally rejected the screenplay went for the comic version. They paid much more than Steve Niles offered to sell the original story. Talk about getting your comeuppance. The sounds of the vampires were created through a mix of screams of the actors with recordings of local death metal singers and various marsupials. The signature roar of the vampires were the actors screaming while inhaling.
Du måste bjuda in mig.
Vad händer om jag inte gör det? Vad händer om du går in ändå?
And the number one film on our list is Let the Right One In from 2008.
Finns det något här?
This Swedish film redefined the vampire genre with its haunting, poetic story of a young boy who befriends a mysterious girl. It is praised for its atmosphere and emotional depth. The title of the film, as well as the novel upon which it was based, refers to the fact that, according to myth, vampires must be invited in before they can enter someone's home. This is shown in the film when Eli asks Oscar to invite her into his apartment. The English translated title of the book and film, Let the Right One In, is taken from the lyrics to the song Let the Right One Slip In by Morrissey. Several tricks were used to create the right sound effects for some of the gorier scenes. Biting into sausages was used to replicate biting into skin and flesh, and drinking yogurt was used to sound like drinking blood. The sound of the children blinking was made by the skin of grapes rubbing together in an almost blinking motion. This was shortlisted in the Best Foreign Language Film category at the 81st Academy Awards by Sweden, before the Swedish jury chose Everlasting Moments as the country's entry instead. Late in production, it was decided that Lena Linderson's voice would be replaced by a darker voice because the character of Eli was supposed to be an androgynous boy who had been castrated, and Lee Anderson's voice was considered too delicate and feminine to depict that. L.F. Ceylon was chosen for her less feminine, more androgynous tone. Sound designer Pierre Sundstrom noted that her voice also made the character more threatening. These films showcase the diversity and enduring appeal of vampire stories in modern cinema, each bringing something unique to the mythos. And what did you think? What was your favorite vampire film from the 2000 to 2010 era? Is there a film that you think should be on this list that we didn't include? Let me know all your thoughts on vampire films from 2000 to 2010 in the comments section below. And while you're at it, I'd be honored if you subscribe to my channel. Click that little bell to stay informed, and check out my Carl Vincent Vampire Hunter franchise, which is also in the comments section. Until next time, this is Kevin Given saying, live long and prosper, may the force be with you, and keep reaching for the stars.